The Chiefs are still in dynasty mode, and we're going to talk about it. Good morning, Chiefs Kingdom. Andy Reid says he's not ready to retire. Brett Veach says Travis Kelce's excited for this coming season. And we're going to talk about that much more. But first, please hit that like button for us. And Mike, let them know who's powering this live stream.
This episode is powered by BetUS.com. Check out BetUS today. Use the code YouTube150, and you're going to get a 150% deposit match bonus on your first deposit. And then on your next two deposits, you're going to get a 125% deposit match bonus up to $2,000. So take advantage of all those free plays when you get those deposit matches. The site's easy to use. There's plenty of props on there. Go to BetUS.com today. Use promo code YouTube150. Let them know All Chiefed Up sent you their way. Steve, we had a little bit of a news day yesterday. Finally, Brett Veach, Andy Reid spoke to media at the combine, at the NFL Combine. So we heard a little bit from Veach, and I've clipped a few things from Veach that I want to talk about today. And we've got a few different things, but we'll get to them when it's time to get to them. But first, I wanted to say Brett Veach talked about the extensions with George Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie, and they kind of glossed over Nick Bolton and Trey Smith. But in previous days, Steve, they've said that it looks like it's going to be closer, that they may sign Trey Smith over Nick Bolton. What do you think about that one?
I have no idea what they're doing there. No one knows. No one really knows. They're going to keep their cards close to their chest and let it be that. I highly doubt that they're able to pay Trey Smith. I just don't see that in the cards.
I think it was Nate Taylor that said that they were working on a 5-year deal, according to him.
Maybe. I mean, that'd be pretty wild. We'll see. We'll see if they have that much money to give to a guard. I think a 5-year deal would
be very pricey, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, he's going to be garnering $20 million a year. So
do you love the idea of signing back
for a guard?
Do you love the idea of signing back Trey Smith? Like a lot of our friends on here and different people on X. I mean, you got Lance the Spoken. I know some people watch him. He is a big Trey Smith advocate. He thinks that it needs to be done. He doesn't mind that he's a better run blocker than a pass blocker. He just feels like it anchors the line and it needs it. But do you are you with paying Trey Smith that much money?
No. I have no problem with Trey Smith. I think he's freaking great. I love him. But I don't see how the Chiefs, in the situation they're in, especially with bigger needs, to be paying a guard that much money. I mean, we're already talking about having to restructure Joe Tooney over there, and he's getting older. You got Trey Smith over here. I'd be happy if they could figure it out. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I just don't see that in the cards. If it happens, it happens. But they do have a lot of other things to figure out, Mike, and I don't know if guards should be that high on the priority list.
Here's the way I think they could get away with Trey Smith and maybe paying a little bit more. I think if you can't restructure Tooney, but you need to try to restructure Jawan Taylor. That's your problem. That's your contract problem on the offensive line. And I don't know if anybody can disagree with that statement, but he is overpaid at $80 million or whatever it is he's making yearly. It's overpaid. He's not the worst right tackle in the world, but we paid him very top dollar right tackle money, and he's not a top 2 or 3. But he's getting paid like it almost, especially when the contract come up. So I like what Jawan Taylor does. I think he's always got room for improvement. He was picked on a little unfairly, but him and Trey Smith did not play super, super high level for the entirety of the season. And do I feel comfortable paying him $80 million and then giving Trey Smith another $80 or $100 million? To me, that feels a little rich for a right side of a line that really, I mean, they've played well, but they've not played like lights out exceptionally. Like it's a fence over there, and you're just not getting to Mahomes. So I feel like you got to restructure Jawan Taylor somehow if you want to give some money to Trey Smith. And Trey Smith's earned a payday, man. He's earned it. And so he's got to take it. I think it's kind of odd, but a lot of people are in on it. I just think we got a lot of guards sitting behind him. I mean, we drafted Hunter Norzad last year who can do it. We drafted C.J. Hansen. You've got Kingsley Suamataia that they're talking about maybe moving down the guard. You've got Wanye, who could probably play a guard really well. You've got plenty of options there. So to overpay, and is it an overpay? Maybe not, but it's an overpay for what we can afford, in my opinion, the way all of our contracts are structured. We have to pick and choose where we give that money to, right?
That's my point. Like, it's not an overpay for Trey Smith, it's an overpay for the position. And I think that obviously the offensive line is key, right? That's what everybody wants. We have Patrick Mahomes. We got the best quarterback in the league. You want to take care of him. You want to make sure he's protected. You don't want to see him get mauled like you did in the Super Bowl. But at the same time, I'm more worried about the guys on the edge. That's just me. I think that's where we always have our biggest problems is over at left tackle, obviously. If we could figure that out, that'd be fantastic. I think that's something you got to focus on first. I don't think the first thing on your to-do list should be to extend Trey Smith or get a contract with Trey Smith. I don't think that should be the first thing. And now, if they, like I said, if they can get it done, fine, that's great. But I really don't think it should be top priority.
I feel like it might be, though. And the thing is if you sign Trey Smith, what's the odds you're getting back Nick Bolton? You can just about kiss Nick Bolton goodbye.
And I'm fine with that. Like, I love Nick Bolton, and like I would tend to think they would want to keep him on the defensive side of the ball a little bit more than, say, Trey Smith on the offensive side of the ball, just because of the role they play. But I'm okay with Trey Smith over Nick Bolton. I don't care. That could go either way, and I'm not mad at it. But at the same time, that I'm like, hey, might be an overpay for a guard and stuff like that. I understand them wanting to bolster the offensive line and make sure it's solid. But what good is it to make sure that your interior offensive line is number one in the league every year when you're letting every edge rusher in the world beat the shit out of your quarterback?
Yeah, I get it. Brett Veach at the Combine spoke very highly of this linebacker class. I thought that was a little telling. He didn't talk about the offensive guards, and he didn't talk about other things, but he actually got to the podium, Steve, and he said, linebacker class, man, looks pretty good. You might get some cheap linebackers here. But this is what he had to say about McDuffie and George Karlaftis. This was a highlight of yesterday, and I'll play it really quick. Here we go.
Yeah, that'll be on the list of things to do. We'll get through, obviously, this phase here. We'll get with the agents on the pending free agents and put a free agency plan together. And then I would anticipate getting through the draft and then having the summer to work with. But certainly those are two really good players, and I'd like to get those guys hopefully done if possible. But we'll certainly have dialogue if not before the draft, right after the draft. Right.
Before the draft or after the draft. He's talking about having dialogue already with McDuffie and George Karlaftis. That seems a little counterproductive. But do you think maybe extending them long term, freeing up some sort of money? I mean, they're still both on rookie deals, so I wouldn't see how that would free up that much. I think you
have to be proactive with those two. I absolutely think you have to be proactive with those two. You don't want to end up in the same situation that you're in this year.
Signing them doesn't free up any more money, I don't think, for like Trey Smith in the short term, right? Because they're still on a rookie contract. I don't see how it frees up anything.
No, but like I said, you want to be proactive with the players that you want to keep, right? Instead of waiting until the very last minute. Think about Trent McDuffie. He's the number one lockdown corner in football when you really look at the statistics. So if you wait all the way till the end of his rookie contract and he were to be able to hit free agency, or you got a franchise tag him, whatever it is, you're still going to be paying him a boatload of money when you could already have him long-term extended. And I think Trent McDuffie is going to be the exception to the Chiefs not signing corners for a good amount of money. I think Trent McDuffie is going to be the guy that breaks that.
I think you're right there. Who do you think is the most important duo to sign back? You think it would be Bolton and Humphreys, or do you think it would be McDuffie and George Karlaftis? If you had to pick a set, which one do you think is most important to the future?
I'm assuming you meant Bolton and Smith.
Yeah, Bolton and Smith, McDuffie and Karlaftis. If you had to group them in pairs and you could get back, do you think it's more important to get McDuffie and GK signed long term, or do you think it'd be more important to get the other two?
I don't think it's like far and away, but I kind of do at the same time. I think you take care of McDuffie and Karlaftis.
Yeah, I think McDuffie's the strongest player out of all of them.
Right. I mean, you look at 2 first-round picks there as opposed to a second-round pick and Trey Smith, who could have obviously been a first or second-rounder, but had the medical issue.
I feel like the McDuffie, George Karlaftis, those are 2 premier positions, corner and defensive end, edge rusher. And although George Karlaftis isn't to the elite level, he's slowly getting there. He's in the upper echelon. I would say he's top 20, top 25 in my opinion, which is very good. He was turning it on. I think he's getting a little quicker. He's getting better with his moves. He's getting better with certain things. So I think GK has still got a ceiling ahead of him, and even McDuffie, to be honest. So I feel like those two premier positions you almost need to take care of. It's easier to replace. It's easier to replace a guard and a middle linebacker than it is to replace a top-tier corner and an edge rusher. It just is.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely. And I think that's something that, like he said, there'll be dialogue that they have, and it could be before or after the draft, whatever. I think it's definitely something they want to be proactive with, is especially Trent McDuffie. But in the more immediate future, I suppose they should be talking about Trey Smith and Nick Bolton and these types of guys. And we talked about that a lot on the last live stream, Mike. Like, which ones do you think they'll sign back? Who do they need to sign back? And I think there's a handful of guys that I feel like they really need to consider. But here's the thing. If they didn't sign back either Trey Smith nor Nick Bolton, just let them both walk, what is that a backbreaker? Is that really a huge deal? Or is it just how they fill it in? You know what I'm saying?
Look, the way the Chiefs are built, and every year we say this, and it holds true. Brett Veach is kind of running a New England Patriots light program, right? He's building through the draft. He's not spending tons of money in free agency. He's limiting, I don't want to say limiting, but he is. He's limiting the targets, or not the targets, but the playmakers for Patrick Mahomes. He's never went and got him that big playmaker. And you've seen Tom Brady deal with that too over time. And they were able to develop players like Wes Welker and Hogan and some of those slot guys that made it up there and give Brady where it looked like he had good receivers, Wes Welker, things like that. But over time, it got a little stale, and even they went out and overpaid for like a Randy Moss for a season or two, right? So right. I feel like that could be where we were last year. In a way, that's almost where we were last year, I thought, is that we got so dire with the wide receiver, and especially with Rashee Rice's injury. Brett Veach had to go out and make a big move. He had to go get D-Hop. He had to try to sign somebody in free agency, and he signed Hollywood. I don't know. It sounded like in his interviews yesterday he wanted to re-sign Hollywood. That seemed like a priority, in my opinion. And I don't know I guess you would almost want to sign Hollywood over D-Hop. I get it. The price tag's a little more expensive, right? But Brett Veach has got a lot of decisions coming up. And, I mean, this week starts the NFL Combine, and we've already played through some of the All-Star games and different things. So, Steve, you know as well as I do, me and you getting ready to start digging in, man. Like, I've just now started to hit it. You're starting to hit it. And it's a long process, and I do not envy Brett Veach's decisions coming up because it's tough, man. No matter what you do, some people's going to like it, some people's going to hate it.
Absolutely. Mike, we got 5 gifted freaking memberships from Peter Ortiz. Let's go, Peter. What's up, my boy? Good to see you.
Peter, I'm shipping you out a special gift this week, actually. And nobody knows what it is, but I got a few special gifts lined up. Peter's going to get one because of all of his support lately.
Be careful with Mike's special gifts. You never know what you're going to get.
You might get I might just draw you a picture. Like back in kindergarten, and like.
Mike, are you sending Peter the dick pic?
The Dick Vermeil? No.
Yeah.
I do have that, though. We should give that away sometime.
We should. It should be a surprise, though. We can't let them know when it's going to happen. They just have to receive it in the mail. We got a 5 bomb from Flapjack. Says, would you trade Kelsey retiring to keep Trey Smith and Nick Bolton? That's a good question, actually. I think I kind of stay on the same wavelength I've been. Like, if Kelsey's going to have the interest, the focus, and the effort that we received last season, then I would be completely okay with keeping Trey Smith and Nick Bolton and letting Kelsey hang up the cleats. But if we can get Kelsey back in a fuller form, more focused, maybe, slow him down a little bit as far as how many snaps he's getting, pull the roll back a little bit, try to get Noah Gray more involved, Jared Wiley more involved, or whoever else they might end up with by then, I think I'm okay with Travis Kelsey sticking around.
That's a good question. Flapjack. I don't really know what the answer would be. Here's my thing, though. I don't think it's very dire. I think in the moment, everyone gets really pigeonholed and dire on, like, certain situations and certain players. Like, right now, it's everybody's focused on Trey Smith and Nick Bolton. But if we just kind of step back from the situation a little bit and look at this team, Steve, if neither one of those guys signed next year, are you writing the Chiefs off? Are you
No,
writing us off?
Of course not.
No. So at the end of the day,
I don't know why you're not, though. I mean, aren't the Chiefs already wrote off?
Right.
It's over.
But do you, so in the moment, people really want Trey Smith. They really want him. They really want him. They really want Bolton or whoever. But I think at the end of the day, it don't matter. And that applies to Kelsey. If Kelsey really wanted to retire, the Chiefs are fine. I think Noah Gray's completely fine. Jared Wiley's going to come back, hopefully healthy. You probably look to add one in free agency. It doesn't matter who it is. We had Irv Smith last year, and people thought he could play at some point, and we ended up cutting him. Right?
Well,
We've got plenty of people there, and Brett Veach and them are good at finding people. Even Peyton Hendershot played some decent snaps for us.
there's one player on this team that you can't let leave, and that's Patrick Mahomes. Anybody else, it's interchangeable.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I'm being quite honest about it. I obviously love every player on the team, but I mean, if you got Patrick Mahomes, we can piece the rest of it
and this
together,
is
right?
this is exactly why. I mean, I'm not stressing over the Trey Smith, Nick Bolton decision. If Brett Veach decides to get rid of both of them, I'm fine. If he decides to re-sign both of them, I'm completely fine. The one guy out of all of these guys that I would be kind of sad to watch them go would be Trent McDuffie or George Karlaftis. Those two guys, Steve, I called those two guys in the draft and said those are my two favorite guys, and the Chiefs took them both round one. Did we ever think they were going to do that? It was insane to watch that.
You had an idea that they were going to take George Karlaftis regardless, right?
Mm-hmm.
They thought that's kind of what you were on. And
I
you said if
George
if
Karlaftis
they traded
slipped,
up,
they're grabbing him.
if they traded up, they would take Trent McDuffie, and they ended up being able to pull off both.
Yeah.
And so far, I mean, you can't complain with how that draft turned out because.
And honestly,
those two have
McDuffie
been
a
key
little bit
pieces.
more than George. I love George, but I think McDuffie means a lot more to the secondary than George means to the pass rush.
Yeah, for sure. JCP with the 5 bomb says, will we pick up a receiver in the draft or free agency to complement our current guys? Let the boy.
What a question,
watch.
JCP, because me and Steve's been diving into the draft, and the first position group that we're hitting was the receivers.
Yeah, I definitely started watching some receivers. I think there's some interesting guys out there. I think there are some Chiefy guys out there. But I don't know if that's like we talk about priorities. Talk about like guard not being a high priority. I don't think receivers even close to being a priority at this moment.
Yeah, do you think this is the year the Chiefs have to take a receiver in the first 2 rounds? I don't think so.
If they did, I would not be shocked. Let's put it that way. But at the same time, I feel like it'd be very unnecessary. You know what I'm
I think
saying?
if they do it, it's because
not-
a big name on their board slid.
Yeah.
And they're taking best player available, in my opinion. Do I
Right.
think they have to do it? No. And the receiver class, so far from what I'm seeing, I'm about 15, 20 receivers deep at the moment. And we all know how I love my receivers, and I try to find Puka Nacua every year. But so far, they've looked all to be decently playable through the top 15 to 20. You know, maybe 10 through 20 is like, you know, those hit or miss guys. But those first 3 or 4, you're never getting your hands on. It happens like this every year. You're
that's
never
kinda
touching those top 3 or 4 or 5. We picked too late.
I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it, right? They're not going to take a receiver early in this draft at all unless somebody falls that should not be. You know what I'm saying? It would have to be some kind of like crazy situation where somebody like Luther Burden, Egbuka, or like Matt Golden fall all the way to the end of the first round.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, maybe we can take a shot on one of these kids because all of those kind of fit the script of a Brett Veachy, Andy Reid type.
And the thing
receiver.
about a guy like Golden out of Texas is he wasn't even the big guy. It was the other kid, Isaiah. I forget his last name. Isaiah something. And then Golden kind of come in and took over at the end of the
Golden's
year.
got the 4.2 speed, and that
He does, but do we need that guy anymore? Like, I thought Xavier Worthy kind of hit that for us.
Did we ever need more than one? No, but Chiefs collect them like
That's true,
Pokemon
because if you
cards,
can't
bro.
get Hollywood back, you have that.
They got to collect them all. They have to have all of them.
Brett Veach is trying to pull the Charizard out of the pack or whatever he's going for.
Always, bro. And there's some guys in this draft that I think they're going to be in the later rounds that have those that type of speed. Believe it or not, there are some guys in the 4.2, 4.3 range in this draft that are not going to be early, and they're decent receivers. So I actually think, for the most part, from what I've found so far, I feel like this is a fairly deep draft with wide receivers.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's a priority for the Chiefs at all. You already hit on Rashee Rice. You already hit on Xavier Worthy. You can sign back Hollywood Brown. You could sign back D-Hop. You got other guys that can come in, maybe Juju. I'm not for sure how that's all going to go in this offseason. But either way, just having Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy for the next 3 or 4 years, I think that takes some pressure off of that position, especially when you need to be looking at protecting Mahomes. I think all the focus has to stay at left tackle. Like, I really don't know how they could ignore that again or try to take a guy late or in the second or third round even. I think if you're going to focus on tackle and you're doing it via the draft, if you're not going free agency, you have to make a move and get somebody in the first round.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like with the wide receivers, I don't think it's a top priority. I'm developing already within the first 2 or 3 days of watching film. I've developed 2 or 3 guys that I just think could be diamonds in the rough. I'm going to have to watch more and see more and different things, see how they do at the combine. But I've got a few guys that could possibly go, third, fourth round that I think could be just as good as a middle round pick.
That's what
or
I'm
like
saying.
A mid first.
Right.
So, you've got the kid out of Iowa State, Jaden Higgins. How high is he going to go? How high is he not? That kid is huge. He's like 6'4", and he runs like Mecole Hardman.
Well, he's off the table. No, but anyway, guys, if you're interested in the draft stuff, if you want to talk more draft, hit that subscribe button, hang around, because we're going to have a lot coming up. I mean, we're just now starting to dabble into it a little bit.
I'm excited to get into
So
it.
in the coming weeks, we're going to have a ton of draft content. So hang on to your seats if you're a draft person, because it's coming.
And let us know in the comments, the people that love the draft, Steve, before you get to this. Let us know in the comments, would you guys like to see specific videos where me and Steve give our top, 15, 20 per position and make it a longer video? Or would you rather us do something like lives and speak about it, or both? Just give us an idea, because when it comes to draft content, we've been doing this now for what, Steve, 3 years?
Right.
And it seems like draft content, 90% of everybody checks out and won't even pay attention to it. So the
Absolutely.
10%
That was my
love
next
it,
point. That was my next point. If you don't like the draft at all, you don't like football that much, but you love Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, you can put that in the comments too.
Yeah. So let us know. If you're the 10% that love the draft stuff, let us know how you'd like the draft stuff delivered. Would you like videos, specific targets, and things like that? Just let us know, because we're open to work with you this year, and we're looking for new ways to get content out too.
Yeah, and one more thing real quick before I get to Peter Ortiz's 20 freaking bomb right here. I'll leave it alone for now. I'll get back to it in a minute. But appreciate the 20, Peter. But we have back-to-backs here. 20 bomb from Peter and a 25 bomb from Peter. Going nuts. Let's just call it the 50. The 55 bomb. How about that, baby? So the Chiefs will be okay. The first priority is the O-line.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think they have to focus on that. After what they allowed in the Super Bowl, I think they have to. Like, Brett Veach is notorious for just going out and overcorrecting.
Look, Brett Veach spoke at the combine about the combine, and he said the Chiefs always focus on the trenches. And he said, believe it or not, they do it every year with the amount of money they got. And he called out trading for Orlando Brown Jr. the year they had to do it. He called out going and signing Joe Tooney. He called out Jawan Taylor. He called out drafting the 2 big guys in the middle, Creed and Trey Smith. He called out drafting Kingsley last year and Wanye the year before. And he called out, just Chris Jones even, getting him re-signed back, and Mike Dana last year on the defensive trenches. So they claim that they do as much as they can in the trenches. And so just yesterday, I feel like Andy Heck made a mention of Kingsley possibly being able to be a better guard project than a tackle. Surprise, surprise, Steve. Why do you think we took him out of our first round and switched him back into round 2? Because we said that the more we watched him, that left tackle was very, very...
Yeah.
He was going to have to play way up early to get a left tackle spot.
Well,
and that's why we thought the Chiefs were kind of strange to just give it to him.
Well, a lot of the reason for that is just because of, like everything else in the draft now, Mike, there's a lot of guys that it's not even about what they've done so far. It's always about that ceiling, right? Like everything goes off of potential these days. And Kingsley had that potential with the athleticism, the strength and stuff like that. I think Kingsley definitely had the potential.
But at the end of the day, Steve,
we
slid him down because we thought he was to the right side.
Absolutely. And I think he'd be a great guard. I think it's the same way with Wanye Morris. I think Wanye Morris would probably be a better guard than a tackle in this
league. And this
league.
begs the question, do you overpay Trey Smith money that you may not have?
Exactly. Peter, you're freaking awesome.
Yeah, Peter, you're awesome, man.
Y'all put some legendaries in the chat for Peter. for supporting his boys here on All Chiefed Up. Also, he's at it hardcore today. He's gifting out 5 more memberships for you
Peter's the
guys.
man. That's how-
if y'all
that's
get
what's up.
one of those, make sure to thank him in the chat.
I hear
Also,
the train, baby.
members only live stream. We'll be doing that maybe tomorrow.
It's coming up. I'm trying to find something to give away. The Jalen Watson jersey won last month.
Yeah.
Got shipped out finally, and I'm sorry it took a little longer, but I couldn't get it out before I, went to Florida for a week.
And Mike just quit on everybody.
So it came. So I shipped it out yesterday. This month we don't really have nothing on the back burner, so
Could be
I've got to
anything.
try to find something. And so I'm still looking for like a Karloftis. I'm still looking to get something from Karloftis. Justin Reed. People had mentioned him, but like if we don't sign him back, do people really want that? So it's weird.
It's a memento,
It is a memento, I guess.
Remember when Justin Reed was here? How about that?
I'm trying to get a few things. I think it'd be cool to get like some Nico Remigio merch. People love
Right.
him.
Well, the point of it is, if you're not a member, you should do that. If you didn't get one from Peter being generous, then you should go to join.allchiefteup.com and become a member of the ACU crew, and you can be a part of that members-only live stream and maybe win some Chief stuff. Mike Flapjack, he's been a member for 5 months. Longer than that, probably, but
Yeah,
YouTube's
for
confused sometimes. Does everyone better be ready for a defensive draft this year? That's a possibility, too. I think, you can never really, hone in on what Brett Veach is trying to focus on, because he's always, a couple steps ahead of everybody else. And sometimes when we're very focused on wide receivers or offensive line or this or that, all of a sudden he drafts 5 corners in the draft. You know what I'm saying? He'll just do something crazy, so...
He did that last year with the
Don't be
offensive line.
surprised. Exactly. Don't be surprised, Flapjack.
Yeah.
And do you think the offensive line, the overdraft of the offensive lineman last year was not because of what's happening at this moment? I mean, I think Brett Veach does have some foresight. I do think he lets some things go to the wayside, and obviously should have been aggressive on that left tackle thing and was not. But I do think that he sees
Is
things
it
coming.
coincidence that Tooney is getting to an end of a contract with an extension coming? Trey Smith, and yet he drafts C.J. Hansen, Hunter Norzad. He's drafting them, and they didn't give up on Caliendo. He actually played some at the end of the year. A lot of people didn't like it, but I don't think Caliendo played that bad.
No, I don't think so either. People talked a lot of trash on him, but as far as what Mike Caliendo is, he's been really good for what he's been asked to do. And yeah, he struggled here and there, but you're talking about an undrafted free agent from Western Michigan that got stuck into the fire. I thought he held up pretty well. So I mean,
don't think he did anything.
I'm
In
not gonna
my
throw no
opinion,
shade at him.
I don't think Caliendo done anything specifically to just be like he was the focal point of why we lost any
No,
game.
his pass protection isn't great. Okay, that's fine. What do you expect from Mike Caliendo? It's not like he was a freaking first round draft pick,
Right, but did he
you know
have a
what I'm saying?
game where he give up 3, 4, 5 sacks? No.
No, just a lot of pressure. But Roulette King, been a member for a month now, says, did they really just get rid of Taylor? Talking about Jawan Taylor, they need to figure something out with him. I've seen some rumors about them trying to trade him or do this or that, and I just don't see it. As far as I know, I don't see anything about it, but I haven't been on X either. That's where all the geniuses are at, right? So maybe you get over there and figure that out, Mike. Mike Yoways with the 2-bomb says, so is Humphreys out of the question? Absolutely not. I think that is your most likely left tackle for next season at this point. I really do. I think because if you look into the free agency, you got Alaric Jackson, you got Ronnie Stanley, who's old, decrepit, falling apart, always hurt. There's just not a whole lot going on. And then the draft, there's not that many great left tackles. Let's be honest here. Is there maybe one guy in this draft that maybe could do that job as a rookie? And I'm not even sold on that yet. So I think this is the most likely scenario, is that they let DJ Humphreys have an entire offseason with the Chiefs and actually play and see how he holds up.
I honestly like that idea, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do too.
I think you have to give him a shot at least, because we know that he's capable.
Yeah.
He just was coming off an injury and didn't have time to assimilate back to it. And then basically he got injured when he did. He hurt that hammy. So I would love to see him maybe, give it a go this offseason, see what you can get out of them. And still, you can still draft if one falls to you, or look at free agency, or maybe even try to trade for one. I still like the idea of trying to get Walker Little out of Jacksonville. I mean, that's probably like a minuscule chance, but would love to see Brett Veach like kick the tires on some people like that.
I definitely think he'll do his due diligence at that too. So, I mean, if you were to see some type of trade, it would be surprising to me just for the fact that people don't want to get rid of left tackles. Okay. But other than that, I think Brett Veach is going to be doing what he can. I appreciate the two, Mike. And then Ron's been a member for 13 months now. Appreciate you, Ron. Mike,
Baby.
We're halfway through this episode this morning. And I just want to say I appreciate everybody for being here. Thank you guys. You guys are amazing. You're the real ones. You're still checking out Chiefs content and loving your team, even when they just got their ass beat in the Super Bowl a couple weeks back. You're ready to roll. You've moved on. You're ready to see what's going forward. And we appreciate that. Do us a favor. Hit the like button if you haven't already. If you're watching on Facebook, share it with your friends and family. If you're watching on X, you can share that out to your followers. And that's really just the main thing, Mike, I was going to talk about a minute ago. But, like, we have to do better, Chiefs Kingdom, okay? We have to do better. You guys that are here, I'm not talking to you. But I think you guys could be the mouthpiece for what I'm about to say to some of the others.
Oh, God, what is Steve about to rage about?
You got to step it up a little bit. You got to step it up a little bit. When I look at Chiefs YouTube right now, across the board, there are no fans. We don't have any hardcore fans in here. Right, exactly. Everybody's officially in the offseason. But let me tell you something. When you're being outnumbered on Chiefs stuff by Eagles fans gloating, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. Especially because, just to address a couple of the Eagles, the entire Eagles fan base, okay? Like, if I could talk to them right now, I would tell them one thing, Mike. Congratulations, you got one on us. Okay, congratulations. Enjoy it. But at the same time, how about we go back to back? If y'all go back to back next year, then you can come talk to us at the adult table. And then if you get to a third Super Bowl the next year, you can come eat at the adult table. But until then, shut the hell up. Go back to the kids' table, eat your hot dog and macaroni and cheese, and shut the hell up. And that's all I have to say to them. But yeah, we got to get Chiefs Kingdom out and rolling, baby.
You're a little PO'd at the Eagles, huh?
No, not really. Just the fan base is so freaking annoying, bro.
They're going to stay annoying, Steve, because why? They've not won much, and they're showing it.
Mike, it's just what it is. You have to tell them sometimes. You have to remind them.
Steve, can we talk a little bit about? Can we talk a little bit about football? I know the draft's the fun thing, and we'll get into more of that. But we spoke all year. A little bit about Mahomes and why he didn't look. He hasn't looked right for a couple years, it seems, right? It seems like he's been a little down. A lot of people say it's Nagy, it's the play calling, it's this, it's that, personal issues. This year, I mean, every excuse was given for Patrick Mahomes this year. His grandpa was sick, he's playing bad. His house was broke into, he's playing bad. Rashee Rice got injured, he's playing bad. Hollywood Brown got injured, he's playing bad. It was always something. It was never Patrick Mahomes. It was never that Patrick Mahomes just, maybe something was going on with Mahomes. You wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. And we did that for the most part. But a lot of the time, Steve, what was our one critique of Patrick Mahomes? And it was, he's pressing too much. He's seeing things out there that's not there. He's getting a little too conservative. I feel like he was outsmarting himself sometimes. We've said this time and time again, and a lot of people said, you guys don't know ball. This is stupid. You guys can't throw a completion. Why are you going to dog on Mahomes? Okay, cool.
The usual.
Brett Veach spoke about Mahomes yesterday, Steve, and I'm going to play this clip, and let's see if Brett Veach sounds like what me and you said about Patrick Mahomes all year, and then let's talk about how we don't know ball.
Again, approach every offseason where we want to get him not overthinking. He's grown and developed so much where Coach Nagy and I talk about this, where he knows maybe too much at this point, where, he's seeing things that maybe defenses don't even do now because he's that far advanced. But I think it just comes down to settling his feet and him trusting the protection up front. And that's a continual point of emphasis for us. And that's why we always make it a priority to invest in the lines. And I think we'll have that that approach. It's just it becomes
There it is. What'd he say? His his footwork stunk. He didn't trust things. He wouldn't throw things. He was seeing things that wasn't there. And he did mention that it could be the offensive line a little bit. You've always got to mention that. That's a caveat, sure. But yeah, I think our critiques of Mahomes throughout the year were completely valid, and I think Brett Veach completely just validated it for us. And I guess you could say Brett Veach don't know ball, and I guess you could say, well, Brett Veach can't throw a touchdown pass. Yeah, that's also true. Brett Veach can't throw a touchdown pass, but Brett Veach has put together a dynasty.
Well, it just goes to show
point.
you that there were conversations in house that Mahomes
Yes.
was not playing all that well.
Steve, we were having conversations outside, and people said they were dumb conversations to have, and we should not do that if you're a fan. But they're having them in the building.
Right. And that's the thing. It's because it's the same difference, Mike. It's not that we don't have confidence in Patrick Mahomes or his abilities. It's just what the hell's going on with the kid, right? Like, you have to figure out, why is he not playing loose? Why is he seeing things that aren't there? Why is he so skittish in clean pockets? Like, what is going on? Like, that's several different things, different factors, offensive line, this, that, everybody could talk about it. But the fact of the matter is, we saw what we saw. I mean, he wasn't playing great. He wasn't making throws. He wasn't making good decisions. And a lot of it was uncharacteristic of Mahomes. Usually the only times you see that type of Mahomes is in those situations where McClone shows up, like in the Super Bowl or in the second half of the AFC Championship game against the Bengals a few years back. That's normally the Mahomes that you're expecting to do that. But we saw glimpses of it all season long. Mm-hmm. And I think he, like what Brett Veach said, he hit the nail on the head. He's got to settle. Like, settle down, get your feet underneath you, and just get back to playing football. Quit overthinking it. Because I think that's the thing. I think that's why Patrick Mahomes was so dominant early in his career, is because he did not. He didn't think about anything. It wasn't, he was like, what was the knock on Mahomes when he came to the league? He don't know how to read a defense.
Yeah, couldn't read defense. He's a gunslinger.
Right. He's throwing off platform. He has no mechanics. It's
throwing across his body, across the
That's
field.
That's what we want. That's what we need from him. We don't need him overthinking and trying to be a Peyton Manning. We don't need that from him, because he doesn't have to be that. He has all the tools that those guys didn't have. So he can go out there and just play the game, bro.
Well, here's the thing. I think Mahomes he's on the level of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning when it comes to dissecting the game in his head. He sees it. But I think what Brett Veach is trying to say, and what we've said countless times, he's overthinking it. Brett Veach said it. He's seeing things that's not even there. He's giving the defense credit for something that the defense is not even doing. So he thinks that so Mahomes knows what every route is on a play, right? He knows it's hot. He knows who's here. He also sees the defense. He sees who's coming, who's doing this, who's doing that. And I think what he's doing, he's giving more credit to defenses than they need. He's saying, look, that safety's going to slide over and he's going to take away that, that mid crosser, and I'm not going to be able to do it, or that linebacker's going to do that. And then when the play comes, Mahomes has already talked themselves out of throwing it. And guess what? The linebacker didn't cover the cross route, or the safety didn't go over the top and help. You know what I'm trying to say? So he's giving the defense more credit. And what you've seen in the Super Bowl is, once the game got out of hand, he started slinging it. He slung it. And yes, right. He had a little bit more time. I get it. But he still slung it. He put that touchdown pass to Xavier Worthy on the money. How many times did he miss those deep throws this year because it looked like he was aiming it, trying to go place it for him rather than just throwing it out there and letting the receiver make a play? And that's what Mahomes has kind of gotten away from, Steve, is he's not putting the ball out there and giving his receivers a chance to make a play. Whereas you see that throughout the league. That's what Josh Allen lives off of. Just throwing it up and letting the receiver do it. Joe Burrow. Mahomes will not throw in the tight windows. He's talked himself completely out of throwing in the tight windows. He doesn't hardly do it anymore. He's got the smallest, tightest separation thing. He's got he leads it every year, where he does not want to throw in the tight windows. He doesn't want to give his receivers a chance to make plays. And to his credit, Brett Veach doesn't give him a lot of receivers that give him confidence that they're doing it.
Well, that's something, because I think he arguably had one of the best to ever do it this year on his team.
But Steve, he did it with that little slot. What was his name? Wilson. He did it with him.
Albert Wilson.
He did it with Albert Wilson. He was
No,
throwing
but,
it in the tight spaces with who was the other cat? Like even like Sammy Watkins and them. Sammy Watkins
DeMarcus
isn't the
Robinson,
greatest receiver.
a lot of
DeMarcus
guys
Robinson
like that.
either.
Well, the thing about it is, man, I think it all goes into that overthinking thing. And like this year, he had DeAndre Hopkins on the team. DeAndre Hopkins is a ball catching machine. He has been his entire career.
Except
If
for the
he's
Super
one
Bowl.
on one, you throw it to him. Yeah, he tripped on one or whatever. But like that's the thing. If you want to talk about throwing the ball out and letting your receivers make plays, you had one of the best guys to ever do that. And you didn't throw a ball up to make a play there.
No, he did that once or twice. Do you remember that one he threw? I think it was against the Bucks
in the end zone.
where he threw that up and D-Hop come down with it. D-Hop did have some uncharacteristic drops with us, though. Did you notice
Just
that?
two. I think he only had 2 drops. But when D-Hop drops,
Are you
it's
sure?
like,
I can think of like maybe 3 or 4 where he just
Nah.
kind of dropped it and he was just like, what happened?
I think it was like 2. But maybe you're right. I don't know. We have another Eagles fan in the chat, so I'll just have to revert back to.
Oh, here we go.
Since you're here and you can hear me now,
Here we go.
What you need to do is until you repeat, you go back to the kids' table, okay? Until you get to a third Super Bowl after that, you sit your ass down at the kids' table and you finish your hot dogs and macaroni and shut the hell up. If you don't like it, suck it, because you're not on our level yet. You snuck one in. Congratulations.
You guys
But you're
haven't
not
won
there
a lot,
yet.
and it shows.
You're not there yet. But seriously, back to the
Have fun
adult,
in the pit.
back to the adult stuff, Mike. Back to the adult stuff. We all can't be tush push merchants. Hey, can they ban that thing already? I think I actually saw that. Hold on, let's get to the chat real quick.
They were trying to ban it. And look,
Let's
you
get
know
to the
what's
chat.
funny?
Hold on, hold on. I know what you're going to say. But Flapjack with the 2 bombs has banned the tush push to piss the Eagles
Yeah,
off.
I think they should too. Isn't it funny though? They all said it was going to be the Chiefs crying because they lost the Super Bowl, and it actually turned out to be the Packers. Put up the rule.
Well, the Packers, their owner, GM, somebody was just adamant about that being stupid. It's not a football play. And I'm right there with them. I'm going to be quite honest with you. I think it is stupid. I think it'd be funny if they banned it. Not just because they would cry about it, but like, I'm just going to be honest here. The way that they run that play, and I understand that other teams could try to mimic it, but they just don't. Other teams aren't worried about 1 yard as much for some reason. I don't understand. But like, you saw the Bills try to mimic it. They weren't as good at it. Right?
Yeah, and they had a daggone Mack truck at quarterback.
It's because they're not doing the basic stuff. If you watch the Eagles perform the tush push, it's literally physics. If they do what they're doing, it is impossible to stop. It is. It just 100% is. Like, you have to be lower than everybody else. You literally just fall over on your head. And physics is going to say that you're going to go forward there if somebody's pushing you to the back. You're going to get a yard. You're going to get a yard. But
To
yeah,
be
let's ban
honest,
that thing.
People say that it doesn't cause injuries, but
It
we've
does.
seen it in the Super Bowl. It hurt
does.
Chris Jones's neck.
Well, that's on him for lining up sideways, trying to stop it and everything else.
But people have to try to stop it somehow.
But-
and so you're going to injure yourself trying.
Like in my opinion, if they don't ban the stupid thing, I think from now on when they go to run it, just let them get their yard and go on. Let's just give it to them. So like they're going to get it regardless. So why even like put yourself through that? You know what
I
I'm
feel
saying?
like it's funny that you're supposed to be such a good team and your entire like
That's their persona, bro.
identity
Yeah.
is that you push each other in the butt. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
very Eagles thing.
It's called the Diddy push, Dylan says.
Yeah. The Diddy Diddle. That's what we're going to start calling it. The Diddlers. The Philadelphia Diddlers.
The
I
Philadelphers.
like it. The Philadelphers.
Peter Ortiz with another 5 bombs says, I love the draft. I would love to see clips while you do commentary. We'll see what we can do. College clips are almost as hardcore or maybe more so than NFL. About when you show them, they like to flag your videos for
Ooh,
copyrights.
SEC's bad, dude. If you show SEC
Yeah.
clips, they'll come to your house and punch you.
Yeah, so we'll have to be pretty selective on that part, Peter, but
Yeah.
maybe we can figure something out.
I tried to show a Luther Burden clip last year, and I remember they sent the representative out and stole my wallet.
Yeah. They
I had to
punched
go
you in the
get a new
face. They
license.
mugged you. They mugged you right in front of your house.
Yeah, they got me in an alley out here, and I was like, I don't know what happened. They just left a note and a business card that said, "Don't steal SEC highlights."
Michael Flores has been a member for 9 months now. Says, how do you feel about Veach saying Mahomes maybe knows too much and too advanced for defenses and overthinks? Good call there, Michael. I think this came in right before you played the clip. So, I mean, he kind of knew where you were heading with it, Mike. So I guess you got your answer there, Michael. Appreciate you, buddy. Casey Lion Squad with the 2 bomb says, my Eagles friends have forgotten that we're 1-1 in the Super Bowl. That's the funniest part. Like, if they want to be like, hey, we're even, cool, you are.
Oh, but we only won the first one because of a bogus penalty that was the right call.
I love messing. Like, I've kind of made it a pastime to, like, twist it around, right? Because they can't stay out of everyone's comments. They can't stop trying to gloat. So I've just kind of switched it around. And what does all chiefed up do best, Mike? We just make shit up just to make people mad, right? So here they come. So I like to be like, yeah, you got lucky. You got lucky. There, like, all the stars had to align for that to happen, and I do believe that to a certain extent. All the stars aligned for you to blow out the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Chiefs played the worst game they've played in years. Andy Reid had the worst game plan he's had in his entire career.
Look, I don't know if it's true or not, but Brett Veach said that Travis Kelce looked back because he was battling a horrible sickness. Did he have influenza A, the one that's putting people down?
There was a lot of flu going around, and that's the funny part about it, is it was going around in both locker rooms, but the only one the media wanted to talk about all week was the Eagles are sick. It's like, we all know the writing was on the wall there. But yeah, I like to say stuff just to poke the bear. And I think I said all that to somebody just to try to make them mad. And the Eagles fan came back with well, those are excuses, and we don't do excuses. And I was like, well, that's funny because I can remember the field's bad, and that wasn't holding.
Yeah.
And
the field was slippery.
You all were the biggest crybabies on the planet.
Only the Eagles played on the slippery field.
Dude, so stupid.
They actually pulled out a whole new field every time we got the ball. And the time we picked off, when Nick Bolton scooped up that fumble, they actually paused it, TV timeout, brought in a new field, put them all back in the position, and then let him run it on a clean field. So, I mean, they done everything they could for the Chiefs to win that one.
Yeah, I know. And the Chiefs, the Chiefs get all the calls, right? And the rest are in their pocket. Do you know that the Eagles fans are actually making T-shirts with the still image of Jalen Carter smacking Mahomes in the face with both hands? So, like, you're glorifying a penalty that they didn't call.
Because regardless of what you think, we don't get every call. Steve, I think this season more than any other season, I think it came to a head this year. This was like the Mount Vesuvius of like ignorance.
Yes.
But I think the average nobody knows what they're talking about just really came to a head, and it exposed media. It exposed talking heads on ESPN, NFL Network, you name it. Ex-players, current coaches, ignorance. Like, it exposed how stupid they are and how much that society will not take any self-blame for not being able to beat somebody. You always got to pawn it off on something else because you couldn't possibly do any wrong, right?
Up until the team they want to see loses, and then everything's normal.
Yeah. It was completely. This is what happens when the Chiefs don't get cheated. They
don't cheat,
bro.
Scott Vanzel in the house with the 5 bombs says Travis has always been my home security blanket and option number 1. Now that Kelsey's game is in decline, that blanket's not there anymore. Pat panics now. I think there is some truth to that. I think that one of the biggest problems of the offense this year, and you can kind of attribute it to a Kelsey decline or Kelsey not being, 100% present mentally. But you didn't see Kelsey working after the initial play to get open. You didn't see that backyard football. You didn't see that connection they normally have. Hell, you saw it on bright display in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
where
just watched.
Where Kelsey just stood there and refused to even block, and that guy that he could have blocked 17 times was the one that made the tackle on Mahomes, Like, we saw Kelsey quit on a lot of plays this year. We saw Kelsey not finding those little holes in the defense. And I think you're right. I think Mahomes does kind of panic a little bit now that he doesn't have that. But I think you do have that in-house. We've seen it, and that's why he was so successful before the injury. It was Rashee Rice. So I do think when he gets back, I think Rashee Rice was more of a security blanket than Travis Kelce was at the beginning of the season. Let's just be honest here. So I'm not too worried about that long term, but I do think there was some truth to that. Appreciate the 5 bomb, Scott. And then Peter Ortiz with the 2 says Pat needs to push the envelope and have some fun. Absolutely, man. We talked about how they can get him back to just being the old gunslinger Pat, right? Like different ideas and stuff. the more that you kind of see things start to play out, like we're at the very, very, very early stages of this offseason. But guys, I don't think that Matt Nagy's going to go anywhere. I don't think they're going to change anything. Like there'd be a little shuffle in the coaching staff. I don't think anything major's coming. I could be wrong, and I wouldn't be mad at it. But I just think we kind of are what we are at this moment. And this is a pivotal offseason in the fact that we could start seeing new faces and start seeing a shift. But I mean, Kelsey's going to come back for another year, as far as I know. All indications are that he's going to be back. Obviously, Andy Reid's not going anywhere. I think you're going to see more of the same that you've seen. But they've got to start evolving a little bit, Mike. And I think it starts with just getting someone in there or something fresh that can get Patrick Mahomes back to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done. You know, when players are in a place mentally, it's kind of like the yips. He's like Kevin Na or whatever his name was. It used to be in the PGA Tour that just couldn't swing all of a sudden.
Right.
He'd like, stop. Like,
look,
that's
I'm with you.
what he is.
I don't think there's going to be any major switch ups with the offensive coordinators or anything. I don't think
either.
Nagy's going anywhere. I really don't. I mean, for better or worse, we're stuck with him. It's kind of like a bad marriage. We're just in it, a loveless marriage here. Okay, but going back to the Kelsey thing a little bit, I do believe there's something to that. Him and Mahomes, the chemistry has seemed off, but I think it's more Kelsey is kind of just declining a little bit in a way. And when he's getting those double teams and stuff, he's not being able to really eat. He's not being able to do that stuff. Now, that should be opening up things for other players. But when you've seen that you didn't have to respect Kelsey as hard as that, then you didn't even have to like double and triple him anymore.
And they weren't using DeAndre Hopkins, so there was a lot of times where he was a decoy, but sometimes they didn't pay that much attention to him.
Right. So even this year, if Kelsey comes back, and I firmly believe he will, that's what they're saying, I still don't think there's going to be that chemistry there. I think we're still going to be lacking for that because, again, I think it's just something out of their control.
Those days are over. And I think that's something
Father
that people have
Time
to
won
accept.
that battle.
Yeah.
And with the whole thing about Mahomes, he's overthinking, he's doing this, he's doing that. I think we have to find someone else, be it Noah Gray, Jared Wiley, or we got to go somewhere else that Mahomes can start developing that with. And I think once he finds that next guy to develop that with, that then kicks off the second leg of our giant dynasty, in my opinion. And there is a guy in the draft that I'm eyeing, Steve, that it's just chef's kiss. And I think he could do it, but he's a little undersized. And so I don't know what to do with him at this moment. But there's a guy, and to me, he plays like Travis Kelce, and he does everything like Travis Kelce.
Talking
He's
about
more
the kid from
Kelce.
Michigan?
No, he's more Kelce than Jared Wiley was, and they were calling him Kelce 2.0, which was ridiculous.
I never
he
understood
didn't
that,
do anything similar to Travis Kelce, but that was what got clicks, And so there's some guys there, and I think the Chiefs have to do a really good job of trying to find it. Because I think you've got to start looking at life after Kelsey. Even if he comes back, you've got to find somebody for Mahomes to develop that with.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's definitely something they have to work on. This offense has always been pretty reliant on that tight end connection, right?
Yeah, that element.
It's definitely a huge thing. There's only two guys that I can think of off the top of my head that you're talking about, by the way. So you just tell me if I'm wrong.
Neither one of them are tight ends. So you're wrong.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say.
Oh.
I think it's a wide receiver.
It is a wide receiver, and it's somebody that could borderline play in the tight end
I think
position.
I know who it is. Give me 2 seconds. I forgot the kid's name because it's. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna get this right. Mike, get the next comment.
He's my guy too. I love him.
Let me find this real quick.
You go for it. Where'd you leave off? Peter Ortiz with a 2-bomb?
Yeah, I think so.
Flapjack. Heard KC had more media obligation than the Eagles in the Super Bowl. You are correct. I think they did. We're not going to use that as an excuse. We're not an excuse-based team over here. Appreciate the 2-bomb, Flapjack.
Jack Beck from TCU.
Jack Besh? He pronounces it Besh. I thought it was Beck too, and the announcer said Besh.
Okay.
And you're right. It is Jack Besh.
I knew it. Yeah.
That
I thought the same thing.
Dude, I turned on some TCU tape and some Colorado tape to watch Travis Hunter.
I thought the same thing.
And what did I find? Jack Besh. Of TCU, and it's another Horned Frog. And we just took Jared Wiley, but I think Jack Besh might be it.
Yeah.
He reminds me of like a Noah Gray, Travis Kelce, and he's fast. If he goes to the combine and he can weigh in around 215, 220, and that 6'2", 6'3" holds up, he could very well be a beautiful positional piece that you could put outside, inside, slot,
Yeah.
power slot, anything like that, dude.
I
love him.
He's kind of like a mixture of Travis Kelce and
He
Puka
doesn't
Nacua.
drop anything.
Did you get you get a little bit of Puka out of him too?
Yeah, it looked like if Travis Kelce and Puka Nacua got together.
Yeah,
and
that's what
I
I'm
said,
saying.
that's two of my favorite players of all time.
I knew who you were talking about. Right.
Steve.
I knew you were either talking about. Well, there's
I'm
one other
eyeing-
tight end. There's one other tight end, but
Yeah.
he's coming off some injuries and stuff, and I think his name is Arroyo.
Arroyo.
So I think
I
there's a
haven't
couple
really dove
interesting
into the
tight
tight
ends.
ends yet, so you knew it had to be a receiver.
I knew when you said it. Like that guy he's exactly what you said he is.
Is it just because he's white? Are we stereotyping the white man?
No, I don't think so. Aren't
No,
most
because I'm not
ends?
a tight end. I don't know. Casey Line Squad with 2. He says Rice and Gray have to be used more in the Kelce row. Yes, right there. You just said it. We just see that's how smart our people are. Because I just said it like before I got to the comments.
Yeah, and if
We
they
have
agree
to-
with you, they're smart, bro.
Yeah, if you agree with me, you're smart. If you don't, idiot.
You're an Eagles fan. Get
Yeah,
out of
the Eagles
here.
fan. No, but I'm just saying, you do have to use Rice, and I believe Rice was going to be the focal point all year. It's just injury. But so I don't think that was anything. I do believe Mahomes and Rice are developing that special thing. But you do need to get a guy like a Noah Gray or somebody. You need that second one because if Kelce doesn't have that connection with him, and Rice, God forbid he misses a few weeks to get back, and then they suspend him for 3, 4. Maybe they do something stupid and say the whole season. We can't control Goodell. So you still need something. And I think you got to find that. And right now, one of my guys in the draft is Besh, Steve, and I really like what he does. And he's a love child of Puka Nacua and Travis Kelce. That's what he looks like. It's what he plays like. And he don't drop anything, dude. Like, he does not drop anything.
Yeah.
He's a Hoover vacuum. Willie Gay will slam him around.
I knew who you were talking about.
You did. I don't even know how you did that. Is it because I told you I was watching on TCU football?
No, I just knew. I've been watching receivers
why
too.
in the hell did I go to the draft and I said I'm going to pick wide receiver, and then I turned on TCU film? That just seems
you were,
really
you were
odd.
watching Travis Hunter.
I was trying to watch. Yeah, Travis Hunter, by the way, special.
You think so?
Yeah, he's a top 3 wide receiver and a top 2 corner.
He's going to be.
I don't know
corner.
where he wants to play. I thought he was going to be just corner. I
think
really
he's gonna be a
did.
corner.
And when I watched his receiver film, that kid is a top 3 to 4 wide receiver in this draft, if not number 1 or
Well,
2.
he'd be smart to be a wide receiver.
He looks like I don't know how fast he is in reference to the guy I'm getting ready to say. I know he's a little bit smaller, I think. But he plays identical to CD Lamb. I mean, I see CD Lamb written all over him.
Mike,
nonstop.
you're already getting horny about the draft. We haven't even jumped
I'm
in
horned
yet.
up, bro,
Mike's
and I've
already
only
in
watched
full.
20 receivers.
Mike's already at peak draft horniness.
Oh, God. I
Mike,
gotta
settle
get
it
the
down.
blue chew.
Take a cold shower. Chris Honeycutt says Kingsley is a fat, slow potato that has no movement in his lower half. He is one of the worst tackles that I've ever seen to come out of the draft, and to be picked into top 100 is terrible.
That's very weird. He was named on the freak list. This guy was a top 15 player in the country named on the freak list.
That is what I like to call opinions without any kind of facts to back it up. Kingsley Suamataia, as an offensive lineman, ran a 5.04 40-yard dash. That's a 9 on the RAS score. 9.35 total RAS score, by the way. And then a 20-yard split, a 2.9, and a 10-yard split, 1.7. He's got some quickness. I think Kingsley has the tools. It's putting them together. It's like we mentioned, Kingsley's more of a right tackle than a left tackle. He could also easily be a guard. But his athleticism, as far as being an offensive lineman, is through the roof. So to just look at him get beat by Trey Hendrickson, who should have been the defensive player of the year this year, but they gave it to a corner just because it's Pat Surtain Jr. I don't know how you come up with this. I don't, especially when he's
Can I talk about Kingsley, by the way?
That's
he was
wild.
6'5", 326. We had him projected as a top 100 player easily, and he should have been. But to throw him into the left tackle position with not a lot of experience was very, very crazy by the Chiefs. I thought it was bad game planning. And Steve, you thought he was going to win the position, and he did. But then the whole Trey Hendrickson thing happened. And Trey Hendrickson didn't even beat him for the entire game. He beat him in the fourth quarter.
No, he beat his ass.
I mean, yeah, but it wasn't as bad as it looked. So you go over, and to say he's not – this dude rated in the elite category in 40-yard dash, his arm length, and his hand size. And his 10-yard split and his vert was a 1.74 and a 2.8 on a vert, a 28-inch vertical. That was one of the top 4 highest offensive tackle verticals and one of the top 10-yard splits. So to say that he was unathletic is insane. He made the freaks list, which again, that is one of those lists.
Right. And well, they're trying to apply it to the game tape that they saw. And I think here's the thing about it is when Kingsley was in college, Mike, he could use that. He could use that athleticism to cover up bad technique. He could use it to cover up inexperience. He could use that in college. Once you jump to the NFL, you're not masking anything with athleticism. So right. Kingsley was not ready for a starting left tackle position, obviously. And I think most people that come out of the draft are not. You might have one guy a year that's ready to play left tackle in the NFL. And that's being generous. But Kingsley is a guy that can develop into something. Will it be a left tackle? Probably not. But, I mean, I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility. I think he's got the tools, but you got to get him to where he needs to be. I've said it time and time again. Darian Kennard came on our show one time, and he was talking about how the craziest thing going from college to the NFL was how big of a jump it was, and it caught him off guard. If it's catching these guys off guard that are dominant in college, then it's obviously a pretty big gap. So I think you have to be a little bit more gracious to these young kids when they're coming out of the draft.
Can I read you something wrote by Skylar Main, who was a sports scientist that helps work on Bruce Feldman's freak list? Bruce Feldman comes out with a freak list. It's been 20 years in a row. Athletic freaks. Kingsley Suamataia only rated right below Marvin Harrison Jr. on this freaks list out of the entire draft. Okay, that's how freaky athletic he was. But listen to what Skylar Main had to say about him, who helps that. Kingsley Suamataia is off the charts. He's faster than our linebackers. He's a freak in the weight room. What makes it look different from Blake, which was Blake Freeman, the other tackle, is that Kingsley just makes it look a little more effortlessly. Blake was a better jumper, but Kingsley was our fastest lineman by a good bit. According to Maine, Kingsley hit 21.5 miles per hour last year as a 318-pound freshman. That's really good if he were 218 pounds, much less an athlete that's 100 more pounds. You know what I'm trying to say? So to say that this kid is not athletic is just, it's not right.
It's wild. It's wild.
It's not right. And I'm not defending Kingsley to the end of time. I'm just saying that after 2 games in the NFL, you have to slow your roll a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. You got to wait and see. Could it be a Sky Moore situation where he's a complete bust? Absolutely. But at the same time, you have to give him a chance. You can't just...
Boy, I've seen a couple Sky Moore lookalikes when I was evaluating wide receivers.
Steer clear.
Scared me, though, because I was like, I bet Brett Veach got these on the short list.
Mike, I saw a comment up here I wanted to hit real quick. Bigfoot Hunter. He hunts Yetis. He said, do you ever work with a draft simulator? Mm-hmm. We do. We normally partner up with Walk the Mock. And we'll do a lot of that this off season. We'll be doing the draft stuff. So we'll probably have some live streams where we're doing mock drafts here and there using that tool. Sometimes we'll do it with popular big boards. Sometimes we do our own big boards.
Yeah, so. And for as much as we I like PFF. I think they do good work. A lot of people just don't like them, this or that. I think it's fine because they measure everybody on the same metric. But as much as I'll rely on PFF a little bit, their draft stuff is always wild, dude.
It's a little wonky.
It's wonked out, dude. Like sometimes you'll get a guy that's a top 20 pick and they'll fall to the 4th round in their draft simulators.
Am I the only one? I know I'm not the only one that just starts like.
Are we in a draft simulator world where they get caught with like a drunk driving thing? We just didn't know about it.
Well, like I was going to say, like sometimes during draft season, I'll catch myself bored. So I'll just go through the draft like over and over again. I would just keep drafting, just to see what
Yeah.
different scenarios pop up. The only reason that I like PFFs is because they grade your draft. Like some of the other people should,
But they graded
should
kind
look
of
into
odd
that.
too, because sometimes I remember, if you draft like a good quarterback,
You can
like the Chiefs
play
don't need
the
a
system.
quarterback.
If you know how to do it, you can get an A every time.
If you watch it a few
But-
times and see what they're grading, you can definitely sway your grade.
You can figure it out.
You can figure it out. We're not dumb. We know, baby.
We got a 2-bomb for Flapjack. He says, give Justin Ross to Sky more chances for once. Justin Ross's time here is Sky Moore's time here. They're done.
It's wild that they made it a point to sign Justin Ross back. If anything, I think they're hurting his career.
Yeah, dude. Like
I think this kid would do a lot better if he just went and replaced T. Higgins when he leaves.
I have zero faith that Justin Ross is ever going to do anything.
I would like to see it though, Steve. I'd love to see him get some shots, but
Yeah, same. But I just don't have any faith that that's going to happen.
the thing
And-
about
and
Justin
as far as
Ross,
Sky, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the thing about Justin Ross that hurts his limitability, there's two things. Number one, Andy Reid is notorious for making ex wide receivers just no-shows in an offense. They get zero opportunities. We don't throw the right kinds of balls to them. We don't trust them. Patrick Mahomes don't throw those jump balls very often. And he threw a couple to him. Remember the Vikings game? And Justin Ross come down with it.
Yeah.
But he just don't throw it very often. So, one, the offensive system limits poor Justin Ross. And number two, as much as I like Justin Ross, he does not separate well. And when you don't separate fast and you don't separate well, Patrick Mahomes, who does not throw in the tight windows very often and does not throw to contested situations very often, will not target you. So 9 times out of 10, you will be just a decoy, and that's exactly why D-Hop turned out to be nothing more than a decoy for us. He turned from D-Hop to decoy, and that's what happened with D-Hop here.
Right, and that's the
it was
thing.
that
That's what I was saying earlier. You got a guy that's probably one of the best to ever do it. If they're one-on-one throwing the ball, he's going to make the play, and Mahomes wouldn't even give him the chance.
No, he
so
did
you think
it once
he's
or
ever?
twice.
You think he's ever going to give Justin Ross a chance to make plays?
He did it once or twice, and we were saying, "Oh wow, look, he
And it worked
should
out.
see that he
Right.
can do this," and it stopped.
He just
It
won't
never
do it.
would. It wouldn't materialize. So
He just won't do it. And what I was going to say real quick before I get to this 2-bomb, as far as Sky Moore is concerned, I think get some draft capital if you can. 7th round or 6th round or whatever. Just go ahead and get some draft capital. See
I
what you
think
can
this
do.
is the last year with
Cut-
Sky Moore. Obviously, they're cutting him.
No. This is not the last year. I think the last year was last year. I think you go ahead and get rid of him for some.
No,
draft
I mean the last year on the team. Like he's getting cut this year, or he's going to be traded or something.
Maybe somebody will give you a 6th or 7th
I don't
round.
see him back
I
in a
don't know.
Chiefs uniform when the season starts.
But just cut your losses. You picked a not good player in the 2nd round. Eat it. Get some draft capital. You
at
need
least
it this
picked a
year.
guy. You at least picked a guy that doesn't fit in the scheme like you thought he was going to.
Exactly. You missed.
You missed.
You whiffed. Casey Lyons scored
Yeah,
with
let's
a 2
move on.
bomb.
You whiff.
Kingsley is a rookie. Give him time. He's not a bust. I agree with that. I think Kingsley's going to be good. Depending on where he's going to be at, who knows? Will he be a tackle? I don't know. Will he be a guard? I don't know. But I think he will be successful somewhere.
He could be a Tooney or a Trey Smith replacement, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And on a high side, he could be a Jawan Taylor replacement.
Yeah.
But I just don't think
No.
he's good enough at the moment
Man,
moment in his
if
career
you
to be
think
a left
about
tackle
elite
starter.
left, you have to think there's only 32 people in the world that are good enough to be a starting left tackle.
Yeah, and half of them aren't very good.
That's what I was getting ready to say. And if you're talking about elite left tackles, you're talking about 5 or 6 guys.
Yeah, you're talking about 6 dudes in the entire universe.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, that's a tough spot to fill. And kind of like sidestepping that and not hitting it directly on has got you to where it is here. You're just hoping and praying that you were going to hit the lottery with some of these guys, and that's just not realistic. Not with that position.
Especially with Kingsley, when it was all said and done, we liked the pick, and I still like Kingsley. I think he's got a good attitude. I think he works hard.
Yeah, he'll
Steve,
be
we
good.
had Swayze on the show, and he said Kingsley stays after practice every day and just has that drive. And I like that about him, but like you said, I think we'd have been much better off to somehow have just got Orlando Brown. And I know that pisses off Chiefs Kingdom, and they don't like him, but we were able to win with Orlando Brown Jr., and Brett Veach liked what he's seen, and Mahomes trusted him for some reason. You may have been better off just trying to get him and swap out that right tackle. Could you imagine drafting Kingsley to replace the right tackle this year rather than doing it the opposite way? I think we'd have been much better off.
Absolutely. Jawan Taylor signing was the worst. I'm just going to say
I
it.
don't dislike Jawan Taylor
I
as a
think- well,
human, and
that's-
I don't dislike him as a
I
football
don't
player.
think he's a bad tackle. I think he's actually pretty good, but any good that he does gets swamped by the fans being mad about the penalties.
Yeah.
So,
See,
like-
I've actually seen some Chiefs Kingdom saying we should try him at left tackle.
Yeah, I've seen it bounce
I
around,
don't
too.
think that's a good idea.
No. I mean, you definitely don't want... The league already is picking on this dude. Like, just let it go. Like,
If it were me and I were Brett Veach, I would maybe look at the landscape and see if I could get maybe Tooney and Jawan Taylor restructured. And if I could, I would try to sign back Trey Smith. If I couldn't hit that right number there, my number one option is I'm probably going to get a Ronnie Stanley or an Alaric Jackson.
I don't want Ronnie Stanley. He's too
But
injury prone.
yeah,
We
I
don't
think
need more of
Alaric
that.
Jackson is probably the one I would
I don't
want.
want another left tackle if it's just he's gonna be on the sideline, and we're dealing
Right.
with the same freaking thing.
And I get it. Some people don't like Alaric Jackson, but my God, he's better than what we got.
Brian Parrott's got a couple comments I want to get to. The first one is D-Hop getting surgery, or do we care? Actually, I haven't seen nothing about him getting surgery on the MCL that he was nursing all year. I don't know if it requires it, if it just needs
You
time
would
to heal.
think.
I'm not for sure. So we'll see about that. And also, if D-Hop wants to be here next year, if he wants to take another run at a Super Bowl, I'm for it. I'm good with it. I think having him in the locker rooms was tremendous for freaking Xavier Worthy. And maybe, just maybe, Patrick can realize that he wins one-on-ones. Like, he will win. Throw him the ball. And that would be a nice little safety blanket if Travis Kelce's really sliding like people think he is. And then also, Brian Parrott, I had to hit this one because it's true. Jawan and McCole are two reasons to hit Brett Veach with a pie. Right in the face. Right in the face. Mike, while you were on vacation, word on the street was the Chiefs were interested in DK Metcalf. What about that? Who
I
saw that
remember-
one coming?
I seen you. I was driving and I watched that live there. I was with Pops when Pops was harassing you about Patrick Mahomes' haircut. Yeah, this comes up every year. I just like we've been talking about it. I don't know if wide receiver's number one priority anymore. I don't think it is. I think
It's
until you
not.
solve left tackle, you've got to like put the wide receiver.
Like
on the
I said,
back
there's
burner.
absolutely no reason to take an early wide receiver in this draft unless one of those big names just plummet.
Well, I think that the fact that Rashee Rice should be able to come back, and again, he's going to miss a few weeks and maybe more due to the suspension, but you hit with Rashee Rice and he's fine. Him and Mahomes have something that's decent. Xavier Worthy turned out to be pretty good, better than good. He turned out to be really good.
Oh, yeah.
So I think you've hit enough in the wide receiver, and I think I'm telling you right now, in my opinion, Juju, it would be a top priority for me because he didn't look that bad when he was given an opportunity this year. Now, the only thing that scares me is a little bit because of his injuries, because he was injured a little bit this year, but I like what Juju can do, and I actually seen a few guys in the draft that kind of remind me of Juju Smith-Schuster a little bit, and I kind of wonder if that's something the Chiefs may look at if they go to the draft. Maybe somebody that replicates a Juju-type guy rather than a Tyreek-type guy, because you hit the Tyreek guy, right? You
Right.
hit him, Xavier Worthy. So maybe they look at a different style wide receiver in the third or fourth round. Who knows? But just going to give you guys a little heads up before we decide what we're doing or whatever, but the Chiefs are at the Combine, and they've announced a few people that they're meeting with today and tomorrow. So I just want to give you a list of these. They're meeting with South Carolina defensive end Kyle Kennard. So that's a name to watch. They're meeting with Ole Miss cornerback Trey Amos. So there's a defensive end and a corner they're looking at. Now, Steve, it wouldn't surprise me if they don't take a corner early because Jalen Watson got
Toasted.
he got toasted in the Super Bowl a couple times. And you could say it's the ankle, and I really do believe it could be a little bit of rust. But still, for some reason, they're not sold on Josh Williams or giving him any playing time whatsoever, even though he did not look that bad. His numbers were
He
comparable.
was pretty good. Yeah.
With the same amount of snaps, they were just as comparable with Justin Watson. It's insane. But
Jalen
yet people
Watson.
will
Jalen.
yeah, Jalen Watson, I'm sorry. But people will sit there and argue all day long that he's not any good and Jalen Watson's head and shoulders better. And it just does not
Well,
pan out
look, man.
on the stuff.
Love Jalen Watson, but let's be honest here, guys. You got to be honest with yourself. You're talking about a 7th round draft pick
Right.
that played above his
Yeah.
level of play. So I mean, how is
So I do think the Chiefs will look to upgrade.
how long
if
is
they
that
can.
sustainable? And I'm not saying he can't get back to where he was before pre-injury and all of that, but like I don't know if that's the long-term answer either. And that's
Right.
no shade. That's no shade to him.
So also Travis May from I forget where he covers A to Z. My bad. So Travis May from A to Z said that the Chiefs are going to meet with a linebacker from Florida, Shamar James. That's telling. That's a telling position. Another defensive end, Princely Uman Milan, I think is how he pronounces it, from Mississippi. Another defensive end. Okay. And then they had a formal meeting with Toledo defensive lineman who goes inside and outside. This is a Spags guy, Darius Alexander from Toledo. That was one. And then the last one they announced, and this might be fun for some people, a running back, Steve. Oklahoma State running back, Ollie Gordon II. So it does look like running back might be some kind of a priority. And it looked like trenches, defensive line, defensive end.
Yeah.
I didn't see a single offensive lineman named there. Now, it's going to come out that they will, but in the initial reports, it was all defensive linemen, defensive ends, and there was a corner, and there was a running back thrown in. So, to Flapjack's point, this could very much be a defensive draft.
Yeah.
It very well could. The Chiefs like to, whoever they interview, they tend to take really good looks at. Steve, we've known that. And they tend to draft off of Shrine Bowl and stuff. Whoever they meet with in the Shrine Bowl and things, that sticks with them a long way.
Absolutely. When we start doing the draft stuff and we start giving out lists, I think that's kind of, we always do this just to some extent, but I think this year when I start putting out lists of how we have these positions ranked, I kind of want to do it from the perspective of how the Chiefs have them ranked.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
think
just
that's the
me.
best
It's
way to
not
do
a
it.
personal opinion. It's just what I think the Chiefs are doing.
Right, because some people do it the other way. Like, I love Daniel Harms. Shout out Daniel Harms. He's in he's at the combine right now doing it. He's working with some people doing scouting. He's been doing that all year. I love Daniel Harms and some of his scouting, but him and Ryan, they'll come at it from a perspective of they got my guys and they want to see guys they think fit the system. And me and Steve take it from another perspective. We don't do, I've got my guys, but I'm not going to just take the Chiefs taking my guy. Like, I will take who I think fits the Chiefs and who Brett Veach.
Yeah, like when I make a list of wide receivers that the Chiefs could take in this draft, I'm never going to put Luther Burden at the top because it's just not going to, that's not happening. Are we going to trade up and take Luther Burden in the first round? It'd be hilarious and people would freak out, but is that going to happen?
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, but that's that's the kind of the perspective that I
do you
like to
think
take.
Travis Hunter could be number one on the Chiefs draft board? Because we need a corner and possibly a wide receiver, and he can do both. You think he's number one
Make
on
him
our
play
board?
both sides of the ball. Why
It's not going to be a quarterback. So all quarterbacks are off our draft board. So I really wonder who the number one player on our draft board would be.
I don't know. We'll have it.
Has to be
We'll have it
Travis
up.
Hunter.
Chief KT with the 2 bomb says Chiefs don't value Bolton like we thought.
It's looking
Well,
like it, huh?
Well, that's the thing. It's one of those things. It's not that they don't value him, but I think it's the same with Trey Smith. It's just those positions are not the hardest to fill. A middle linebacker, guard, that's not like a hard one to fill up. So I think that also, like Brett Veach was mentioning, Mike, you said you thought it was odd that he said there was a lot of good linebackers in the draft.
Yeah, he said they might be looking at linebacker.
Exactly. So what you know what that is, right? Like let's be serious.
It's a
You're in negotiations.
Yeah, it's a negotiating
with
thing.
the agent of Nick Bolton. You're trying to get the best deal you can get. So what are you going to do? And publicly, you're going to say that I don't care. I'll look for another linebacker.
Do you need to do that with Nick Bolton though? I feel like Nick Bolton is kind of a stand-up dude. He's from the area.
Right, but I mean, they all have agents, and they all got to get their money, and it's just it is what it is. And like the top contender to even get him right now is the freaking Cincinnati Bengals. I think that Nick Bolton would throw up in his mouth a little bit if he had to play for him, but I don't put it past him. He'll go do it if they're going to pay him the money. So I mean, I just don't like. I'm with you. I think that Nick Bolton seems like a guy that would want to stick with the Chiefs. I mean, obviously from Mizzou, stuff like that. Like he wants to be here. I get that. But at the same time, I just don't think that there's any player in the NFL right now in today's world that cares more about loyalty than money. It's just not a thing anymore.
Yeah. The linebacker position is a position that is tough. It's tough to find one that works really well, and it's also something that's easy to replace. Have you ever noticed that? Everybody says it's easy to replace, but it's tough to find a replacement. It's an odd position in a way. But one guy from the draft that also might have the best name of the entire draft, I think the Chiefs are kind of interested in him from Ole Miss. His name is Pooh, like Winnie the Pooh. Pooh Paul.
Poop. So poop.
So Pooh Paul out here.
A little
That could be
pee-pee on the
name to
pee-pee.
watch. A little pee-pee on the pee-pee, a little Pooh Paul. Steve, would you like to replace Nick Bolton with a guy named Pooh? Does that seem like, or do you think he's going to play like Pooh?
Bro, I've seen enough shit on the field during the Super Bowl. I don't think I need poop out there.
We'll need to put that back out
Go ahead
there.
and throw that out. Let's go ahead and put that one on the back burner there. Sam Lofton, been a member for 12 months now, says Chiefs need a running back and a nickel corner. You're not wrong, Sam. They do have a lot of different little needs here and there. It's just definitely going to be how they prioritize it. Chiefs trade up, take Ashton Genty. Chiefs trade up, take Luther Burden. Which one would you rather happen?
Me?
If something stupid and off the wall happened, which one?
For some reason, I don't feel like Ashton Genty would be good in our offense from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, he would. I think Ashton Genty's.
Do you think he plays more like Kareem Hunt?
No, he's better.
No, but I'm just saying, do you think his style mimics Kareem Hunt? Because Kareem Hunt, but the Chiefs don't always, you know what I mean?
Well,
like
from the tape that I've watched on Ashton Genty, he can kind of do a little bit of everything. He's super explosive. He's smart. He's got good field vision, and he can.
But
be
you're going to
patient
trade up
when
and
he
take a
wants to
running
be.
back.
No, I was just saying if something stupid happened, if they did something dumb off the script.
I honestly think I think running back is a position that you could get one in the second
Quit
or
making
third.
sense of my stupid scenario I made up, Mike. It was
so I'm
meant
just
be
trying
dumb.
to say, I think I would have to take Luther Burden if I traded up. That makes most sense.
Really, I would probably go Genty just because of the wide receiver situation. I think Luther Burden at best is like another Xavier Worthy, right?
Yeah, he's like a slot guy.
Yeah, so I think it'd be fun to see them get some ridiculous like generational talent. Not saying he is going to be a generational player, but like I think Genty's got those qualities that like Bijan
Look, I've
Robinson
not watched running backs just yet,
or
but
Saquon Barkley.
I like Genty, but I don't know if he's going to even be my number one running back when it's all said and done. I haven't got into it yet. But you think he will be?
Who?
Ashton
yeah.
Genty, you think he'll be my
Yeah,
number one?
I think the only one that even touches him a little bit is Amarion Hampton from North Carolina, and I think Genty's better than him.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to dig into him because I don't really have any preconceived notions here except for what you just told me, that you think Genty will be my number one.
Right now, I mean, I'm almost positive he's going to be the number one for you and me, just from what I'm watched. And like I have not dug into running backs hardly at all, but I think that Hampton from North Carolina, I think you'll like him too. But I haven't seen anybody.
Well, you remember
else that
last
really-
year, I may be one of the only guys that had Jalen Wright as my number two.
Yeah, I like
And
him.
technically, he was my number one because Jonathan Brooks was coming off the ACL tear. And then guess what? Jonathan Brooks hurt himself again.
Yeah.
So Jalen Wright was my number one. And I was one, Steve, and I think you were too. I was one of the only ones that had Bucky Irving in the top 7. And Bucky Irving had a
Bucky
hell of a
Irving
year.
was somebody we thought the Chiefs were looking at, honestly.
And who was the other guy that we said would be good? And everybody kind of said, I don't know about it. Don't like the college. Don't like this. Ray Davis. He looked pretty good with Buffalo. So, just going to say, All Chiefs Up does a pretty good job scouting. I'm just going to say it.
Well, if you like draft stuff, hit the subscribe button. Hang out with us. I like not taking shots at anybody because we all do this, but like during this time of year, free agency and draft and everything like that, I think there's a lot more value in football discourse and having the conversations and talking about players than putting out a fancy video with clips and pretty stuff and a script and things like that. And we do those and we will have videos like that. But I think that just talking, just the discourse, the conversation.
I honestly think in podcast style videos where
Yeah.
me and Steve go through each individual position and who we like, what are our top 10 rankings per position, it may be the most boring from the outside kind of thing. And we'll try to show clips too. But like Steve said, college clips will get you clipped. So we'll try that. But I honestly think just getting together with a podcast style and putting out our top 10s and
Mike,
things like that gives a lot of good info for people.
they're going to castrate you if you play any of them college clips.
Man, they're going to get you. If you play a Texas clip, Texas will send hitmen to your house.
Texas got some players in there too, so it'd be hard to skip
Dude,
it. Casey Linesfeld with a
crazy.
2-bomb says, would a wide receiver like DK Metcalf have success with Pat? It's
Right
it's
now,
up
I
in
feel
the
like
air.
no.
What's up in the air? And that's the thing. It just really depends on Pat. Like I think like we were talking about D-Hop earlier. D-Hop will win in a one-on-one. He's going to catch 98% of the balls that you throw at him. Whether there's someone draped on his shoulders, whether he's double teamed, he's going to catch mostly everything. But Pat didn't even take shots at him. He didn't even try. He was decoy instead of D-Hop, like Mike said. DK
I'm gonna put
Metcalf
that on a T-shirt. I think I found
DK
one
Metcalf could also turn in to decoy from DK, but DK, I feel like, is a different player in the fact that he's got all the speed. So he's got the size of a receiver that Mahomes normally don't like to hit, but DK can separate. Mahomes don't like to throw into tight windows. DK can get open. DK's fast. You're talking about a 4-3 guy that's just a monster. So I think he could be successful with Pat. It just depends on, honestly, 100% depends on how Andy Reid decides to use him in the offense, and what routes is he running, and where is he lining up. Like, that's really what it boils down to. So it kind of really to be dependent on the offensive scheme more than Mahomes, to be quite honest about it.
Yeah.
Chief Royal Hawk with a 2-bomb says Devin Neal from Kansas. What about it, Mike? Do you like Devin Neal?
What position?
That's a running back.
I haven't scouted Devin Neal yet.
He's a running
I
back.
can't even. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
I haven't scouted.
So you haven't
running
watched the
backs yet.
tape?
I haven't watched tape on him. I've only got to watch some tape right now on Colorado, TCU, some Big 12 teams. To be honest, I've watched some Iowa State so far. I kind of go down the list and find guys I want to watch, and then I'll let people catch my eye, and then whatever catches my eye, I'll let that take me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, that kid looks good. Let's watch them. And then if he played for, say, UConn, then I'll go back and watch some UConn. And then if I find somebody that catches my eye there, then I'll go, and that's how I kind of navigate it. So it's wild. Steve, your point to DK's win rate versus man last year was 42.5%, and his win rate versus zone was 43%, with an average target separation versus man of a 1.1 yard. So that is about 4 feet of separation versus man. And against zone, he had over 7 feet of separation in zone. So he does separate. So he may be good with Mahomes, because Mahomes doesn't like tight spaces. So that might work out.
Yeah, for sure. And Devin Neal, Chief Royal Hawk, I think I did watch. He's one of the running backs I have seen. I've seen like 5 that I've actually even looked at a little bit. I think he could be a top 10 running back in the draft. I'm not sure where he's going to fall at. But he's not the fastest, but he's not slow either. He's a 4.5 40 guy. I think he's a little under 6 foot tall, about 220 pounds. So he's got some good size. He played well for Kansas. So, I mean, we'll see. Like, especially when it comes to running backs for the Chiefs, you never really know what they're going to do with that either. They're like a mixed bag when they come to drafting running backs. If you think about it,
They like the weight.
They took Clyde Edwards-Helaire, guys.
Yeah, that's odd.
Round. Remember that? So I mean, you never really know. It's very hard to tell.
I'll tell you some running backs that I'm anxious to watch. I really want to dig into Caleb Johnson from Iowa. Like, I remember watching some clips of him, and I wanted to watch him. That's a guy I want to watch. And also the kid from Ohio State. I think his name's Travion Henderson, maybe. That's a guy I wanted to watch. And sometimes the Ohio State running backs get a little bad rap, but, I mean, they put out Eddie George. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Have you watched anything about Cam Scatterbo, I think, from Arizona State? The little white guy that claims he's the best running back in the country?
No.
I'm kind of excited to watch him a little bit, too.
Hey, if he's that confident, one way or another, it's going to be good tape to watch. Either he's going to be good or it's going to be funny.
Steve,
he's
I
out
found
there talking trash.
I mean, I didn't find him, but there's a wide receiver named Tet McMillan, T-E-T. Not to
He's
be
a
confused with
beast.
Tit.
He's
He's good. But so far,
Teddy.
I would love to have a Tet on my team. A Teddy. You're not going to get him. He's going to
Teddy's
go top
a big guy.
10.
Yeah. He's the
But,
number 1 wide receiver in the draft.
Yeah, he's probably number 1. Out of the guys I've watched, he's top 2 or 3. Him and Travis Hunter, and I mean, they're right there. But yeah, his name's Ted, and I just thought that was fun, you know.
Teddy McMillan's kind of like he's one of those guys that could. He's not necessarily a Jamar Chase, but he's around.
He's like a faster Drake London.
Yeah,
If you can
something like
imagine what
that.
Drake London looked like coming out of school. That's what I see. I don't know,
Mike-
man. It's going to be fun digging into those.
Flapjack
Though.
with the 2. He says you need to watch Donovan Ezekawaka.
I've seen a little bit of his clips. I've seen a clip of him. He plays defensive end, and I like him. He sets up his moves very well. He understands his moves very well. The way he talks about pass rushing and stuff, it kind of gives me vibes, and I'm not saying he plays like him, but it gives me vibes of Felix Anudike-Uzomah coming out of college. The way we thought he had a good arsenal.
Did you just call him Anudike again?
No, Anudike-Uzomah.
You're always calling him a dick on live.
But anyway, yeah,
YouTube.
it's kind of like his understanding of pass rush sort of felt like him. But I want to dig in more. But I'll definitely look at. I think wide receiver first, and I think I'm going to go to the positions the Chiefs may draft. So I'm looking like probably he's going to go receivers, running backs on the offensive end, and then offensive tackle for sure. And then for defense, I'll probably go defensive end, defensive tackle, corner. That'll probably be my first few, and probably linebacker now, since it's made known that linebacker's a Brett Veach thing. So that's going to be the ones I hit first. So that'll be my first like hardcore 6 or 7 positions. I'm probably not going to look at quarterback very much. I could give a crap less. We're not drafting one. I honestly don't think we look at center or guard again. We drafted so many of them last year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
It'd have to be a special guy. So
It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, we're gonna deep dive into the draft. We're gonna have all kinds of content, guys. So be ready for that. It's coming. It's coming. Be patient. We got a lot of work to do on that. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, especially if you want a bunch of good off-season content. Also, if you haven't hit the like button yet, do that. It just takes a second. It helps us out. Share this with a friend. I tell you what, I have a homework assignment for you, ACU crew. It's the off season. It's going to be a little slow. But I know you all have a friend or a family member who doesn't know about All Chiefed Up and where they can watch good Chief stuff. So make sure to tell somebody, tell someone. Just reach out and touch someone, Mike. Tell them where the good Chiefs content's
That may get
at.
you
Tell them
arrested.
about All Chiefed Up.
they get you
Do it.
arrested there.
Do it. Just do it.
And look, while you're arrested and you're in your cell, tell them about us.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That
Let's
way
get
when
the
they
word
get
out.
parole.
We got to get this crowd up for the off season. I mean, as far as the channel goes, real quick, full transparency, the channel we've done well over the last few years. You guys have helped us grow this thing into 42,000 subscribers. And we're just a couple of slap nuts talking about football.
Our
And we-
first video was a random video about the draft like 4 years
Yeah.
ago.
But we appreciate you guys. And here's the thing. Like, I know from how that took off from nothing to 42,000 subscribers, the power that you guys have to build this thing, right? So I want you to continue to do what you do and get this thing rolling. Would love to double it up over this next year. We're trying to get to 50,000 by the Super Bowl. Didn't quite make it there, but I would love to double this thing up over the next year or so.
I wonder if
going into next
50,000 is
season.
attainable by the new season, because a full off season, 8,000 is going to be tough to grab in the off season.
I think, Mike, that we could be a lot more. It could be a lot more. But yeah, we need you guys. We need you guys to do your thing and help your boys out, because it is going to be the off season. Sponsors are going to be less. And things like that. So all the support we can get from you guys and the word of mouth and everything would be huge for us. So just wanted to throw that out there and tell you that we love you. But we'll see you next time. We're going to go for the day. Thanks for hanging out with us. And be ready for that draft content and free agency stuff, because we're about to hit the ground running on that.
Steve horned up over the draft already. It's been 2 days.
Max horniness.
Max.
That was a sight from my soul.